So things are looking progressively worse for the game Marathon. The game is Bungie's newest title. I think it's based off of a game that came out in the 90s on Mac, and that game looked like a kind of Doom-style game, whereas this game is an extraction shooter with an entirely different aesthetic. Now, I think there was some closed alpha test. I remember seeing streamers playing it, and most of them only played it for that one day, and it really just looked like a kind of oversimplified extraction shooter. Like it was supposed to be an extraction shooter, but meant for general audiences, which again, I don't know what they were cooking with that. And there were all sorts of weird decisions made when designing the game, like the ugly looking characters, the chick that has like a microwave head. Like that stuff is just unsettling, and it looks like it would give a little kid nightmares. Makes me wonder when game devs in the West are finally going to realize that people don't want to play as ugly characters. And then they added in mouse aim assist, which is an incredibly confusing decision. The idea behind aim assist is it's harder to aim with your thumbs on joysticks than it is to aim using a mouse with your entire arm, but they decided to give aim assist to mouse and keyboard, I guess. Then there's just a game that isn't as in-depth with different ammo types, attachments, and things like that, like what you would see in Tarkov or even Delta Force, and that lack of depth is really not something that you want to see from an extraction shooter. So the game was already not really in a great spot. It didn't have that much enthusiasm in it. People disliked the trailer. A lot of Bungie's fans who wanted a Destiny 3 felt betrayed, and like Bungie was casting them aside to focus on this new project, which doesn't even seem to have an audience. And then after all of this, we found out that the art aesthetic for the game was basically stolen from an artist named Antireal, and I made a video about this, went into depth, did the side-by-sides, and it is a one-to-one. They completely ripped off this person's art and put it into their game. And then the devs behind the game went on a live stream and kind of, I guess, explained themselves on the situation and said that they were going to employ better strategies to make sure that art isn't stolen and confirm the source of things, and they were heckled in the chat of that stream. Now it's looking like the game is actually going to be delayed. This article by the Game Post saying, Marathon delay likely as Sony cancels all paid marketing plans. Bungie's upcoming shooter Marathon just can't seem to catch a break. What started as a highly anticipated closed alpha test has hit roadblock after roadblock, leaving fans wondering if the game will actually see the light of day this year. First, the studio was rocked by an art theft scandal when it was revealed some of Marathon's promotional materials and in-game art were directly copied from an indie artist's work, Antireal. Bungie quickly apologized and promised to review all assets, but the damage was already done. And that has me thinking, what are these guys actually going to do about the stolen art? I mean, I know that I said that they could have hired Antireal from the beginning instead of stealing her art, and it's really confusing why they didn't do that, because apparently some members of the staff were actually following this account for years, Antireal's account that is, but Bungie, the billion-dollar company that's probably spent, what, hundreds of millions of dollars making this game Marathon, couldn't have spent a little bit of money to just pay the one person that's responsible for their game's entire aesthetic? Definitely interesting decisions by the guys over there at Bungie. But even without this whole scandal, the game didn't seem like it was in a good place. The trailer for the game wasn't very well received. When all the streamers were playing it, they only played it for like one day and didn't come back, and then they started playing Arc Raiders and played that for like multiple days, and it seems like it's trying to appeal to a way more casual and general audience, which isn't the audience that you usually see playing extraction shooters, and it doesn't appeal to all the Destiny fans who wanted a Destiny 3. They're not interested in playing this extraction shooter either. It doesn't even appeal at all to fans of the original Marathon. I mean, that game was from like 1994, but that game was a lot more like Doom. So you just gotta ask yourself, who does this game appeal to and who's supposed to be the audience for this game? Why are they making games that don't have an audience? It's exactly what Sony did with Concord, and this might be Sony's Concord 2. For there to already be such a lack of enthusiasm around the game, and then this massive art scandal where they just stole an artist's art and copy-pasted it into their game, it's gonna leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths who already weren't interested. And to top it all off, this game's not going to be free. It's selling for a premium, but not a full price, so probably $40, same as Concord, which that can work when the game is Helldivers 2, but I don't know how well it's going to work when that game is Marathon. It really makes me think about games like Clair Obscura Expedition 33, which have a much smaller budget than a AAA studio and less than 40 people working on developing the game, where the lead devs for the game say it would have never been greenlit at Ubisoft, the studio they broke away from to start Sandfall Interactive to build Expedition 33. How is it that companies with the resources of Sony, studios like Bungie, are able to put so much time and money into a title, only for its entire art aesthetic to be stolen from from somebody else, and the game itself to be an uninspired addition to the extraction shooter scene that attempts to bring the genre to a more general audience. Marathon feels like a project greenlit by clueless executives who don't actually know what gamers like or want to play, and they're not really concerned at all with making a good game. Their concern is making a game that can siphon as much money from the player as possible. And in going that direction, they stifle the actual creativity at the studio, and they're not able to make games that anybody actually wants to play, which leads to them just losing copious amounts of money on these terrible projects like Concord and possibly Marathon 2. But I don't imagine these massive companies will learn their lesson anytime soon, and that AAA games will probably continue to be bad. A combination of being overpriced, not giving the players what they want, or not being finished on release, while AA and indie games capture the gaming sphere. But that's fine by me, because if we're going to keep getting titles like Expedition 33, Helldivers 2 in the AA space, I think that gaming's in a pretty good spot. But that's all I have for this video. I'll try to give more updates on the Marathon situation if there are any developments. If you like the video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel as it helps me make more content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.